almost kind of like in a study he was saying, worship me. That's a task, that's an instruction, or a command. Worship me. What does that mean to you?
Something strange is happening. In modern-day Egypt, that appears to have roots dated back to the 13th century BC. It's terrifying the authorities over the past decade because the government in North Africa and the Middle East have been battling the illegal distribution of an anomalous substance nicknamed the blue elephant. It is a plant-based anomaly that reportedly allows users to generate an extra-dimensional gateway from within the brain itself. It is similar to the blue lotus flower that Pharaoh Akhenaten allegedly smoked to become more aware of parallel realities. The Egyptian authorities in the 21st century have classified it as a modern-day variant, or a type of DMT for short, of a substance that they say is a 75% mortality rate. And in a Cairo-based scientific investigation conducted in 2019, details several case studies where the users reported that upon swallowing this pill, they were instantly transported to a realm that they felt was more real than their own and had physics that were completely different. And it was a home to a number of intelligent humanoid entities. And what are these creatures? Are they friend or foe? So if you're ready for a deep dive, let's go. In today's video, I'd like to examine the research and the truth about these creatures allegedly encountered because of it. This substance has grown in popularity due to the reports of its ability to allow users to access parallel dimensions. This is not a new practice, and during the reign of Pharaoh Akhenaten, it is so believed that the recreational habits of the ancient Egyptians included the use of the blue lotus flower. This plant is found in lakes across East Africa and is believed by some to enable its users to become aware of parallel timelines and higher spatial dimensions via its psychotropic ingredients. Today, there are many hieroglyphs that show the importance of this flower in the Egyptian culture, including one of Akhenaten holding up the lotus, although scientists say that its psychotropic effects vary considerably from the similar plants, that it induces lucid dreaming instead of creating vivid hallucinations. The blue lotus is still viewed as a type of DMT, becoming famous in 2014 after the box office success of the Egyptian psychological horror film, The Blue Elephant, and its 2019 sequel. Many young adults wanted to know if it was real, and does it pose a genuine threat, be it psychological or supernatural. Unlike the claims made famous by Western celebrities such as Joe Rogan and Mike Tyson concerning DMT, Egyptian health officials state that at high doses, the blue elephant variant can cause addiction, violent seizures, comas, and even heart attacks. What about its supernatural threats and its allegability to allow humans to access higher dimensional spaces? So DMT is an extremely powerful hallucinogenic drug found naturally within the human body, as well as in mammals and plants and nature. Generally, is notorious for producing entity experiences for those who take the drug. And what does that mean? It simply means that people who take this drug, often in high doses, report seeing beings that exist in another world or exist in this world, but they are not usually able to perceive them. But when they take the drug, they are now able to hear them and interact with them and see them. They report entering a tunnel or something called hyperspace. So they enter this hyperspace tunnel and they'll see this impossible 4D geometry, and some say this is sacred geometry. The space is usually or almost always inhabited by many entities. So there's usually one or there's plural entities, and these entities interact with the subjects in many various ways. And each interaction, again, varies from person to person, and the nature of the entity is also different. The users say that these experiences were real, and that the people felt that they were real people, and that these experiences were more real than the reality they are existing in. And some say that they existed in some type of different dimension of reality and continued to exist after the encounter. They received messages or predictions about the future, and those who identified as being atheists after this incident, they no longer identified as being atheists anymore. And they believed that there is some higher power out there. And it was the most meaningful experience that most people had ever had. And some theorize that this location could simply be our current 3D reality in its truest form. Others say it could be a higher dimensional plane that exists between our three-dimensional world and the fourth dimension, which string theory calls time within. Some have theorized that this place could be a vast pocket dimension, a space between spaces where souls of both deceased humans and jinn wait for the day of judgment. What this spiritual realm looks like is an open debate. It could be anything from an exact copy of our current world and society to something completely alien and beyond human comprehension, similar in appearance to what has been testified by DMT users across the world. Either way, it can still be considered as a higher dimensional reality. Studies concerning individuals who believe that they have traveled there. Let's first define exactly what is meant by the term higher dimension reality. In quantum mechanics, our current understanding of reality recognizes that the human race lives in a three-dimensional world that is defined as forward and backwards and up and down on an XY scale. The word dimension literally refers to a scale of measurement. With our three-dimensional world, or 3D, governed by a fourth dimension called time, quantum mechanics, that there could be up to 11 or more different types of dimensions. So our question is, what if each dimension could be home to a specific class of life, such as a jinn? With that question in mind, what would a lower two-dimensional world look like? It's simple. Just look at a photograph of beings with 3D capacity like us. Humans would be able to view a flat 2D world, such as a photograph or a TV screen, with ease. But the beings from a 2D world would be unable to see what our 3D world really looks like, essentially making us partially invisible to them. And this law of visibility applies to every dimension, no matter what dimension a being is in. They can only see the dimension below and partially the next dimension above. Therefore, since humans are only three-dimensional beings, we cannot physically see the fourth dimension, which is time. However, a 4D being would be able to view our 3D world and our timeline in its entirety, from beginning to end, from the creation of the universe until the end of time. Moving up a step further, higher, the fifth dimensional being would not only be able to see our complete timeline like the fourth dimensional being, but they could also see all possible timelines across a multiverse of timelines. A sixth dimensional being would be able to see beyond that, and a seventh beyond that, and so on and so forth. So what dimension could the jinn be in? Now, since jinn are somewhat limited by the progress of time, much like us humans, then we can guess that they exist somewhere between the third and fourth dimension. And the Holy Quran portrays jinns as occupants of a parallel world of spirits. So using in theory, we can say that they are in essence higher dimensional creatures compared to us, and that they have the ability to observe our 3D world while remaining invisible to us. And the Quran states that the devil sees you and his tribe, and you cannot see him. The Egyptian media in 2019 reported that the users' experiences that claimed to have had the blue elephant pill in one study, after about 10 seconds of ingesting it, a man described being transported to another world where his current reality dissolved into what he described as an intertwined thread. And this is where he encountered several intelligent anomalous entities, such as brightly colored peacocks with 4 eyes and 4 arms, and beings who took the form of long gone historical figures. A second case study detailed an account of a girl who said that the moment she ingested the anomaly, her environment literally began to peel away like paper from a wall, revealing another world underneath. Here she encountered one of the Jinn kings, an extremely powerful class of Jinn that rules over countless communities of Jinn. And during this event, the subject experienced mild time dilation, where she claimed she remained in conversation with this entity for nearly an hour, despite only being under the influence for several minutes. Critics and cynics of the use of DMT, or the supernatural experiences associated with it, can be categorized into 3 camps. The first belief is that there is anomalous effects users report that are entirely psychological, and they are only hallucinations generated by the mind, devoid of any real paranormal component. The second camp, while believing that the supernatural component is real, that the entities users claim to encounter are for the most part malevolent Jinn. And these Jinn may pretend to be friendly, but their ultimate goal is to trick humans into worshiping them. The third camp, while also believing in the supernatural, does not believe that it can provide access to a dimension where the Jinn exist. It only allows us to view our current 3D reality in its full natural form. For example, a controversial liberal Islamic scholar and expert on Middle Eastern history believes that this substance should be classified permissible under Islamic law, since it is both a naturally occurring substance that has no addictive qualities, nor does it compromise brain function like alcohol, for example. In fact, because it seemingly sharpens and expands the mind, allowing the user to see way beyond their normal visual range, it can help facilitate a better understanding of God and reality. Although he does stop short of saying that this could also be the means to communicate with the Jinn, implying that this may not even be possible. He does mention that the Islamic intellectuals from the medieval period and earlier, such as the Persian poet Rumi, used these plants to see the true nature of our reality. However, this is a very fringe position, with the vast majority of Islamic scholars and researchers speaking against any use of this drug, viewing it as either a potential avenue for Jinn possession, demonic possession, or because of the negative psychological effects it can have on the body. What does it mean to you when an entity that you've just met and that you hardly understand, who's almost analyzing and studying you, were to say, worship me? That's a task, that an instruction of or a command to be told to worship it.
Almost analyzing and studying, you were saying, worship me. That's a task, that's an instruction or a command. Worship me, what does that mean to you?
And what does that mean to you? According to the researcher, he has studied over a decade of supernatural phenomena associated with DMT and the users of these types of substances who expose themselves to extra-dimensional manipulation. And his associate states that all of the different avenues that allow humans to access higher dimensions or to see our current dimension in its unfiltered form, such as yoga or astral projection, and this is where I get into Project Stargate and what they were doing with remote viewing. And I'm going to get into that in the second part of this video, so I hope you stick around. Then it goes into UFO encounters. And there you have the aliens. They're all a part of the same phenomena, originating from magic and jinn interaction. Doctors who have recorded various entity encounters reported that users quite often meet higher dimensional beings who present themselves in forms that were Egyptian pharaoh types. Now, this journalist says that he met a being that presented itself in another form of an ancient Persian deity, Marduk. And the same point of these critics make from religious perspectives is that the jinn might change its appearance depending on who encounters it. Different cultures may develop different lores and names to describe these entities, but ultimately, they are all variations of the same thing. The jinn, historian, sociologists, and psychologists have a similar hypothesis. From a scientific perspective, they state that these beings are essentially jinn archetypes, stock monsters, created by the human mind that you will find across all societies, regardless of history, race, and background. So what scares and amazes these scientists and psychiatrists or psychologists is that it doesn't vary from one culture to another. And they said that there has been encounters in the higher dimensional realm that goes beyond scientific understanding, where the users have testified to having been given knowledge of either future events by these entities or current events, and that they should not have known these things themselves. And this is where Project Stargate also kind of ties into this psyche and the things that they were doing as spies or seeing future events. That the human mind may be more complex than we can begin to imagine. One theory suggests that there is a deliberate plan to suppress our brain's ability to perform tasks that can be perceived as quote unquote superhuman. With the global population using fluoride since birth, fluoride behaves as a type of suppressant, preventing the unlocking of the pineal gland. And mystics from many different cultures worldwide believe that by opening up our pineal gland, we can access the secrets of the universe. It is believed that some ancient Egyptian societies understood this. In their depiction of the Eye of Horus, a symbol meant to represent health and wellness from beyond our world, its design shows us an uncanny resemblance to the part of the brain that encompasses the pineal gland, indicating that they knew something about our biology that our scientists are just beginning to understand. Are we as a global society ready to access such a superpower, putting aside the psychological dangers? The Egyptian media has reported on users of DMT have repeatedly spoken of encountering hundreds and even thousands of strange entities in just one trip. And we are talking about at least one entire civilization of creatures that might exist just beyond our visual range. And there could be many more, and not all of them are friendly. The pineal gland may unlock doors to realities beyond our comprehension, and the risk associated with peeking behind that veil are not fully understood by scientists and parapsychologists alike. Is the global population ready to take the risk of unsupervised abilities to different dimensions or parallel realities? What do you think about all of this? Have you stayed to the end of the video? Did you enjoy this deep dive? Please comment below. I will be putting part 2 to the Project Stargate because this video ran a lot longer than I thought it would. Thank you so much for being here, for all my subscribers and members, and everybody who supports me either hitting that thumbs up, commenting below, sharing this video or my channel. And those who have sent me through my PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, thank you so very, very, very much. Humongous hugs, high fives, and good vibes.